But now it's time to preview an upcoming game with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here, again with another Dice Tower preview for a Kickstarter game. This time we're going to be taking a look at a 2 to 6 player abstract tile laying game called Knots. You can see the interesting pattern work on this box here. This game is going to be a tile laying game in which each player has a hand of tiles. They're trying to make a knot, an enclosed pattern of tiles in front of themselves, to play out to a communal board in the center of the table in order to score points for overlapping portions of their knot, with each overlapping portion being worth some points. So the more intricate and complex your knot, the more points you'll make. So real quick, we'll take a look at what you get inside this box, and remember these are prototype components. We'll see how the game plays, and then we'll come back here and I'll sum it all up for you. Here you can see the components for the game Knots. Now this game has multiple different types of scenarios you can play. It has several multiplayer modes. It has a singular player solitaire mode, and then it has kind of a just playing around mode where you place the pieces out and try and make a great looking picture. We're going to go over the multiplayer mode, or the 2 to 6 player mode of the game first, and I'll talk about the solitaire player variants later. But what you're looking at here is a bunch of tiles. They are two-sided tiles that have various paths on them. You can see this is a green tile. The color of the tile will denote how many paths are on it for reference, but in this case you can see that this is a path. It has 3 different paths on it which go out the same side, some of them out different sides, some, and this one just goes straight across. So you're going to have all of these different tiles, and there are tons of them, some of them with only one path, some with many, many paths that cross over each other in all kinds of crazy patterns. There are 150 of these tiles. You have a bag here, and each player at the start of the game is going to get 12 tiles. So you'll see that I have 12 tiles set out here for 2 players. It does play up to 6 players, and then if you want to combine multiple sets, you can play even more than that. But the idea here is that players are trying to make closed patterns of knots. So they're trying to put these tiles together to create a path that circles back upon itself. And each player is going to get their 12 pieces, and when they get their 12 pieces, they're going to start puzzling in front of themselves in order to try and make a self-enclosing knot. So they're going to start and they're going to try and place these pieces together so that they all loop back upon each other in order to finish a knot. So maybe I'll put this like this, but now I need to figure out a way, once I've got this done, that I can enclose this area back upon itself. So maybe I try and bring it back down like this. And, you know, you're going to be sitting here for a little while trying to figure out a path. So now I swing that back that way. And now, I would like to place this piece here because this would close my knot. You'd see it would start here and it would go back upon itself and come all the way back to where it started. However, I can't place this piece here because this path right here would come to a spot where it doesn't match up with another path, and that's not allowed, so you can't do that. The same could be said for this path here. Can't do this because it runs into a spot where it's not allowed here and over here. So this path isn't going to work out for me, and I might try something different. So maybe instead of doing it that way, I bring it over this way. And now I have a little bit more to play with. And now I could try and put this here, but it won't work. But what I can do is put this piece right here, and that finishes my knot. Surprisingly, I wasn't actually expecting to finish a knot in front of you on the camera, but I did, and I even had pre-made knots set aside. So you're going to try and puzzle these knots together in order to make one before your opponent. You'd be the first player to go. And when you finish a knot, you're going to put it out in the center of the table like this, and you are going to count out how many points you get. And the way you're going to score points is you're going to take a look at how many of the paths cross over each other. So zooming in a little bit closer, we can see that I've got my completed knot here. And in order to count the points I have, I'm going to look at how many times this knot crosses over other paths. So we'd start somewhere on the outside here, and we're going to move around. So we'll see this is 1 cross here, that's 1 point. We'd come further around, here's another cross here, 2 points. A third cross here is 3, 4 for another cross right here, 5, 6, and now we're back to where we started. So this is a 6-point knot. And I would draw enough tiles to fill my hand back up from the bag. So I've placed 6 tiles. I would draw 6 new tiles, and I'd start going to work on my next knot that I can place out. Now, after you've got a knot out on the table, it changes the game a little bit, because the next player is able to use the tiles that you've already placed as well as the tiles in their hand in order to make a knot. So while the first player, or the player that got their knot done first, was making their knot, and they're going to continue on trying to figure out another knot, the other player over here was working on a knot of their own. And they were having a difficult time. But they got these 7 pieces together, and all they needed was a piece to close it off. And conveniently, this player played their knot out and provided the appropriate pieces. So now this player can simply take their knot, slide it out using pieces already on the board in order to finish their knot. And what they're going to do is they're going to place this right up here, and it's going to finish off their knot, which we will zoom in and show you here momentarily. So here we can see the second player's knot, and it's going to start over here using part of the first player's knot, and it's going to loop all the way around. We're going to count the points again just for another example. So we'll loop this way. You get 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 points for this knot. A pretty good scoring knot, all in all, and taking a good use of the other player's tiles in the center of the board. Again, after playing their knot, they're going to draw some more tiles from the bag and add them to their hand and continue on planning another knot. And in this manner, you're going to keep alternating turns until one player manages to draw the last tile from this bag. At that point, you're going to finish out the current round, whereas everybody's had an equal number of turns, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game, you'll have to keep track with a piece of paper or something, is going to win. Now, I said there are multiple variants to this game. This is the multiplayer variant. But on top of this, there is some advanced multiplayer in which you are allowed to pick up and remove tiles from the board before you place your turn. So for example, if there's a tile that's out on the board that isn't needed for something, you can pick it up and replace it with a tile from your hand so that maybe you can use that tile that you picked up to finish up another knot. Another additional rule makes it a little bit harder to score points, and you can include this if you want. You're only going to score points when your knot switches from over to under or under to over. So looking at this same knot that scored 14 points earlier, it's going to score less points. So for example, this first one goes under and gives us 1 point. And the second one goes over, so that's another point, we're up to 2. But the third one goes over again and is not worth a point. The fourth one goes back under, so we're now at 3 points. But the fifth one goes under again and is not worth a point. The sixth one goes over and is worth another point, so we're at 4, but another over is no points, and then another under is 5, another over is 6, another under is 7, an over is 8, an under is 9, but another under is no good, and an over is 10. So instead of the 14 points, we only get 10 for that knot. The next game variant, which is also multiplayer, is a co-op game variant, in which players are going to be trying to build knots with their partner, but avoid letting the competitors build knots. So for example, we'd have 2 players across from each other on a team, and 2 players on the other 2 sides here that are on a team. And the first player, using their 6 tiles that they get this time, is going to start building a knot. So maybe they're going to build something that looks like this, using as many tiles as they want, looking at their partner's tiles to see what they could possibly have that would allow them to finish this knot. At the same time, they're going to look at the person to their left and see what they have, hoping that they can't finish this knot. So they'd try and make something that their opponent can't finish, but their partner can when it gets to their turn. On your turn, you may also swap as many tiles as you want with your partner, but only you may swap. And essentially you're trying, as I said, to start a knot that your opponent can't finish, but that your partner can when it gets to their turns. And scoring works the same way, except for that you share points with your partner. For the solitaire version of knots, you're going to build a square, a hollow square here, using pieces for the corners that don't have anything on 2 adjacent sides. You're going to have the edges with pieces that don't have anything on one side, and then the rest of the square is going to have lines leading into the center. And in order to play this, you're going to draw 9 tiles that have at least 1 line going to each side. And what you're going to do is you're going to try and place these into here and finish a knot by putting them in there. Or to finish all of the pieces so that they're all connected and all enclosed into different loops. So for example, you may be able to put one of these pieces in like this. This piece fits in here and it closes off a couple of loops. And you're going to be working to put all 9 of your drawn pieces in there. And you may get to the point where you can't do so. And what you'll do then is you'll draw another piece with different lines going to all 4 different sides from the bag, but that's going to have 1 piece left over at the end of the game when you do manage to get all of these pieces into the center. So you want to place all 9 of your pieces without drawing too many tiles, and when you're finished, you're going to count however many finished loops or how many closed loops you have, and you're going to get 1 point per closed loop. So you can see, for example, we have 1 closed loop right here. That's going to be 1 point, and if we were to finish off this loop by closing this up over here and finishing off several different areas, we're going to get some more points. But each tile you have left over, because you've drawn more tiles, is going to be negative 1 point. So the idea here is to get a high score by finishing off as many loops as possible without drawing extra tiles. Well, there you have it. That is Knots, a pretty simple little game in terms of gameplay. all you're really doing is trying to match up those tiles in a way where they're going to fit together and make an enclosed knot. But it sounds very simple. It has a lot of depth and a lot of complexity to it because arranging those knots takes a good amount of spatial recognition and a good amount of planning using the pieces you have in order to put them together. Now, I really enjoyed this part of the game, although it does take me a significant amount of time. I don't find these knots quickly. I think it's a very interesting game in terms of thinking, in terms of the various possibilities it offers, both in the co-op modes, where you can try and plan with a partner in order to how to finish a knot, or the single-player game where you have that puzzle-like aspect. You put that together, and you can spend the time trying to solve that puzzle on your own, or even with a friend or a girlfriend, trying to put the puzzle together and solve it in the minimal number of tiles possible. So that, combined with the normal, challenging mode where everybody's working against each other, combined with the cooperative mode, combined with the simple just playing tiles out with your kids if you want to make a pattern, offers a lot of variety in this game. So if this sounds interesting to you, you can check it out on Kickstarter. They're finishing up their campaign here pretty soon, so I'm sure they'd be happy to have more pledges. You can check out the game there, see what they have to offer, and maybe get a game that you can enjoy with yourself or with various friends, or even with your kids in the near future.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Yeah.